Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Lumastic Live, the show where me and my partner in crime here, Joshua Blair, longtime friend of Lumastic, fellow founder, all these things, talk about what we are learning at Lumastic. We have little brainstorming sessions, like keep you all up to date, basically about what's going on with the company. So, with that being said, let me transition scenes here. Joshua, what up? Good morning.
Hello, good morning. How's your week?
It was good. I have like a lot of crazy shit to talk about. Per use. But yeah, in the highlight reel of like what's going on this week and something I want to talk about is just like because of this new like kind of realignment back to our roots as like a creator focused company. It's just like helped us focus in on like who to talk to, get feedback from, problems to solve, all these things. And in tandem with that, I've been talking for the past couple of weeks about all of the meetings I'm trying to set up with creators. And like this week was batshit crazy, dude. Like met I met with people that like I've followed on YouTube and subscribed to for like 7 years. Like this is
Oh,
like my world is like my head is I'm the head explode emoji right now. It's just like a lot of like cool shit, and I am kicking myself that we didn't do this just like earlier in the company, like so, because for those of you who don't know, who are joining us with this first episode, or Joshua as a refresher, like we started as like a platform for educational video creators to like collaborate on essentially courses, like basically make Wikipedia for online courses. Because I was an educational YouTube creator, I was in this community of like 400 other educational YouTube creators, and I was like, hey, we're all struggling to like I don't know, like get views, figure out how to collaborate. We're all like making videos around like similar topics, and like, right, the goal is to help people learn shit. And so I was like, what if we could build a website that basically allowed us to embed our YouTube videos and like move them around and kind of collaborate on like, hey, if you want to learn about like music production or like the like physics, like all these things, we can like collaborate basically with the collective YouTube community and like make a course platform. And so like we had kind of from the get-go been trying to focus on like how do we help creators collaborate, and then we just like kept iterating and moving like towards more like workplace collaboration. And then it was just hard at first with that new workplace collaboration angle to like get people to talk to and get feedback from, and so like and get people like on the platform to give us feedback. And because I had been talking about like creators as entrepreneurs, like the first people that came on, people like you, Joshua, were like startup entrepreneurs. And so we like kind of went in this like, oh, maybe we can be an entrepreneurial community platform or all these things. And we just like got away from the people we like really want to serve, like, and this like new demo we really want to serve, which is not necessarily the like tech entrepreneur. I'm fine helping those people because I am one of those people, and this game is really fucking hard, and I'm like, we're here to help. But our main focus, our like bread and butter here is like creators. And so it's been cool to like have that niche again, and then to because then it goes back to like effectuation process. It's like, okay, cool, we've doubled down, we've picked a play, and like now it's actually really easy to build a like giant spreadsheet of like those people to talk to, and like all these things just start kind of falling into place, and you can actually build something for a specific customer. And I know I'm like kind of rambling here, but I'll
no,
give you
no.
like I'll give you like one tidbit of a great conversation that I had with um, uh, this guy Julian Gustavo Gomez. He's one of the writers and producers for Minute Earth, which, if you know, like the Minute Physics stick figure animation physics videos, this is like they have a bigger company, and they like have a couple of channels, and they like do videos on science. And I've literally been following Henry and Minute Physics since like 2009. And so like being able to talk to Julian, who's also like in like the Nerdfighteria community that like had burgeoned around that 2007 YouTube area. And so it was just like an amazing conversation. I asked for 20 minutes of his time and we talked for an hour and a half just about
Oh
like,
wow.
yeah, their
That's
process, how they
awesome.
do stuff, his story, like how we could be helpful. Because dude, they have the most convoluted. I hope, Julian, you're watching this video because you guys have the most fucking convoluted workflow for a production house. And it's like it was just like everything that we had assumptions of, that I felt like I was making assumptions of because of my like background in this space. I just felt like they were all really validated in this conversation where it's like, yeah, creator businesses really do fucking struggle to like build pipelines and processes that work for them. And like working with collaborators is way different than working with all the same employees at a company. And like just like all this shit was falling into place and it was just really cool. And like it gave us a lot of great new like product ideas for how to make like the workflow better. Yeah, so that was just like really fucking cool. And then I have one more story to tell you, but I want you to talk.
No, this is awesome. That is incredible that I mean, well, that's first of all, that's wild that like they're a huge like operate they have a huge operation going and you're saying that like still needs improvement, which I feel like it's funny because like all the initial creators, the new ones, like they have this struggle, but it just comes to show that the struggle
It never
continues
goes
even
away,
as you
really.
grow, right? Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and dude, it like to give you a little bit of insight, like they're writing scripts, like literally, like not like video scripts. They're writing like scripts in Google Docs to like manage projects, like between like spreadsheets and scripting software, and like they literally like here's one thing, Joshua, like that when I heard it, it like exploded my brain. They literally make a new Slack channel for every single video, and then the team that's collaborating on that video like gets added in over time for that one specific channel, and then like the channel goes away. And
No way.
like literally everything is hyper project oriented. They literally like they have an IDing system between all of their spreadsheets to make sure that they can identify what video this script pertains to, and like this title thumbnail and like these graphics and like all these things. It's hyper, because when you think about it, and this is how I'm trying to figure out how to explain it when we get into investor like conversations, is like these businesses don't make one product. They make like 3 products a week, and the cadence is like insane. And so imagine you're having to spin up essentially an entirely new like duplicate copy of your workflow software every like multiple times a week. And yeah, it just like was crazy to hear specifically that, like, because right, the whole channels feature we're working on is so that like you right, the updates thing is like everything happens within the project, and so you can then segment like conversations and all these things within the project. Hi Kato. Yeah, so that was just crazy. Sorry, you talk a little bit more.
No, so I'm curious. I have a follow-up question to that. So
Yeah.
as you were having this conversation with him, and like obviously he was giving more insight into like the whole process, what were some things? I'm sure, knowing you, Drew, lots of ideas were popping into your head like rapid fire on how
Yeah.
Lumastic could solve that.
And
So
I
I
was
wanna,
like pitching
I
them in
want.
the moment, dude. I was like,
So I'm very curious, like what I'm sure I would bet money that you had like several ideas to follow up. So what were those ideas in the conversation?
yeah, yeah. Okay, so one of the things I like don't think I've mentioned specifically yet about how we're changing the product currently is like right now everything is like kind of social media-esque, and so when you're like creating updates, like the whole bubbles feature is so you can like segment off who you're sharing the update with, but that's like literally basically a channel. And so we are like revamping just literally the what that feature looks like to you, to show that it's now a channel. So along with like having boards in Sparks, you'll be able to like see channels and like post in them like kind of a group chat. So then you would just have like a public channel for every project. That's the one that lets you shout out posts to the rest of the community. So like you could have internal conversations like you and I about this show. We could have like internal conversations with like the rest of the Lumastic team, whoever's collaborating on this project. And then when we want to push out stuff to the community, either announcing the episode or getting like feedback or whatever, we could post then in the public channel, and that just goes out to the rest of the community. So like that's a hyper specific like iteration that we've done based on like feedback from members. But that's stuff that came out in the census, so we already kind of knew about that. A thing that in Julian's specific workflow, I found really interesting is like right now when there's a couple of things. So one, right now when they're writing scripts, they write the script in Google Docs. Like there's a one or two writers that like collaborate on the thing at first, and then when they shout out things for feedback, they use like the comments feature in Google Docs. But then every time they're making a new iteration of that script, they don't like do it in the same document. They like copy and paste the entire script again in the same document so that it keeps all the comments, so that they have a really like strong feedback history of everything that has changed and like who suggested what and all these things, so everybody kind of feels like they were contributing the whole time. And so like my brain was on fire because like that's an entire hack of like how Google Docs works, and it's literally like what we're trying to do with boards, right? Is like give me a like one way we could do it is like to align more with their workflow and to make it not seem like such a big change is like literally just you can duplicate the card and then like right you can keep doing those iterations. But another I feel better way is like save as a revision, right? Like I just want to save this card, a revision of this card, and I want to store that revision away so I can come back to it for later use, rather than like what Google Docs is doing, where it's like literally taking snapshots every single time, and then which is like good in a sense, and like we should also do that so that there's a really good save history. But for what they're doing, it's like, hey, I want to remember that this was a copy of this script that was completely finished a long time ago, right? And so maybe you have 4 or 5. I think the maximum I saw when Julian was walking me through this was 7 iterations, but you can see that iteration history. So that's another one. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. The only question I have is like in the board feature, how
Yeah.
do scripts play a role? Were you imagining the board feature only being kind of like the feedback, or would like scripts be able to, I guess in boards similar to Trello, you can like embed files and stuff like that, but like what were you thinking from that aspect?
Yeah, I love this fucking question because we're kind of like, when you think about a board, you might think about it as like a Trello board, but what we're thinking about it as is this like really dynamic document system where, like right now we've done it as like infinite whiteboard canvas, but like what we talked about last week, is that's really good for earlier stage of the project, but like the other 80% is really like I'm building out templates and I want to do Kanban stuff and I want to take notes and all these things, and use like literally all of the time people put those things in grids, or use Google Docs or like some document system. And so what we're thinking about the boards as is like, if you had one card on the board, it would just look like a document. It like looks like a Google Doc. But as you add cards or like what we're calling lists or stacks, like that's what allows you to build out these like kind of templating systems, where that's what allows you to do like the Kanban style layout. Or for scripts, like how I used to write scripts for my animation workflow was I had like a column on the left and a column on the right. The left was what I would say in the video, and the right is like my animation outline, essentially my storyboard. And so then all of those cards are like different sections of the video, and then I would use like I used to do this in Excel, but like I would use each of those cells as like also essentially a shot list. When I went to record, it's like, okay, now I have to say this next section and I have to say it all at once. That's also how I would do this, is like, this is the entire start to finish portion of this video, and so I have to say this entire card. I don't know if I'm making like
That makes
sense
that
here.
that makes a lot of sense, and I think it's a really good point, because even if to like tie in Ripple in some sense, like when we're making content and stuff like that, and like interviewing people, like we're trying right now to improve the production quality, because what we were doing was we were doing at scale and doing a very like factory-esque style in how we put out the videos, like
Yeah,
almost
yeah.
like copy paste, because we just wanted to get like we wanted our product to be the magnitude of perspectives we have, not as much quality, but now we're like trying to also up that.
Hmm.
That would be extremely helpful. We've been bouncing around multiple tools, and every tool doesn't do that sense. And this like this is what I really like, and I'm not just liking it because I'm a good friend of yours, Drew, but like I do think I do we've experienced trouble. Like we've spent the fact that we've spent months trying to find a place or a software that like fixes all our problems in a sense for content creation, which is what that would do. It's like it is very powerful, I think, to have almost like the way you merge like your documents with your cards, because like they go hand in hand, and they should be going
Exactly.
hand in hand. Especially for anything you create. Like I could even see this being really useful tool in like product design, and like not just content, but just like other creator centric music, um, like just yeah, music scripts, writing, video, all these things, arts. It would be
Exactly.
extremely useful, and I'm sure even talking to like I recently talked to Hisham. He came back to Charlottesville to pick up some stuff this past weekend, and we
Nice.
were talking. I mentioned that I was like, oh, you talked to Drew? He's like, yeah. And we had that Notion conversation a little bit like over again of like what the problem is with Notion, how it gets like so complicated.
Yeah.
And then we started talking a bit more of like the struggles with the Ripple workflow. So like this does make a lot of sense. And I think it is
Yeah.
like very much so it's needed. Like all jumping between platforms, like constantly, like making a jump in a day, you're working on a doc, you jump to Trello, like not a problem. But like when you're a creator, or just like even something, you're moving fast, you're putting out, like you said, you're making 3 products a week, that
Hmm.
gets really annoying, and it gets really confusing, and it takes time out of like your mental, like the way you mentally organize things, because you're like jumping between, like sometimes like I'll do this, I'll be like, okay, which application do I need to open right now in the morning to start like my work flow, right? Like it's
Yeah.
like there's Google Calendar, there's Trello, there's
Yeah,
Slack,
exactly.
there's
Like
all
for
these things.
creators, there literally is no hub. Like for, and this is what I'm saying. Like for corporations, whatever. Like there's so many like competitive infrastructure software, whatever. That's like the like for software developers, like at companies, it's like usually Jira, right? It's like I go into Jira. Jira has my to-do list. It has all the issues for the code. It's also the place that I'm reporting my code documents, like all these things. For careers, but like we don't fucking have that, and it like wastes a lot of our time. Like, and you mentioned like this Notion thing. I thought that Notion was going to be like a bigger competitor here, and like I'm knocking wood, right? And I like what like the Notion team has built, because right, it is really powerful productivity software that's like customizable in like crazy ways. Like Yash, I don't really see Yash ever like coming to Lumastic versus Notion, because he like fucking loves like essentially coding his own project management software. For a lot of creators, we hate doing that, and so but like you see Notion, like my Notion walkthrough all over YouTube, but in reality, the thing that we're competing with is email and the Notes app on like a creator's phone. Like literally, like all of these interviews, like it is. I write things in a Notes app, or I record things in a voice memo, whatever, and then I send those things as attachments, as text files and MP3s to my collaborators in email chains. I talked to a creator I absolutely like adored, Charlie Prangley. She's like like a web designer that I literally have been following since I started my web design company in high school. But yeah, her workflow. She has 2 virtual assistants, like people like collaborators that help her like make content for her channel and stuff. And yeah, they they have a Slack organization with one channel that is literally just to like share files back and forth, and then like for one of her VAs, she like basically reports to them only over email, and then when she's like writing down ideas or whatever, she has like a Notes app on her phone. And I'm like, she has no content calendar. She said she used to do all that stuff and it just got too complicated. And now she has a full-time job at another like creator focused company called ConvertKit, which like Nathan Barry, if you ever fucking listen to this, I really want to talk to you. But yeah, it's like, I really thought, I really did. I really thought that there were more tools out there that we were like really competing with. And again, knock on wood that I probably just like haven't found it yet here. But for right now, what I've seen is like creators are using the Notes app and email, and like just like when companies were using Notes app and email, and it, like then we built all of these like collaboration software tools for them, especially in this like remote work time, lots of collaborators everywhere, distributed teams. That's like been a creator's lifestyle for like fucking ever, right? Like we need better infrastructure. This is going to be like literally more than 50% of the total fucking economy. Like we're wasting like human potential if we like make these people that make just awesome like fucking products. We're like wasting human potential if we let them continue to use the Notes app and email. I don't know. Does that make sense? That was such a rant.
No. It makes complete sense. And I was smiling the whole time because I have a story that can reaffirm all your thoughts right there. So yesterday, Ripple, we saw that Sal Khan is on TikTok. And so cool. I was like, oh, I want to like make a TikTok because we have a decent on Ripple, like pretty much calling him out and having people get his attention for us because I sent multiple emails to him and his team just saying not like, just we want to like collaborate, like we think our video database and yours like go hand in hand, like they teach tutorials with the idea that people will be educated, then they can go to jobs. Now we want to help at Ripple, like we want to help people explore roles and jobs and find that fit, or like see like because you see yourself through people and what they do, and we want to just tell us more stories because that's what education should do to begin with. So as a result, I was thinking, okay, how do I record this video? I pulled up my Notes app to write the script, and I sent it in an email to myself yesterday to keep it in the drive. So I was literally in my seat like, I'm gonna wait till you finish, but I was like on the inside I was like, this is too funny you brought this up, because I literally have the and for just to show the evidence, the Khan video.
And again, it's like it's because it's like simple, it's accessible. Like Charlie said this thing that's like I wrote down in my notes and stuck in my brain, but like she doesn't like do anything. She like tried Notion and she was just like, it's really just like too complicated, and like it kind of is a barrier to entry. Like every time I make a new page, it's like, what template do you want to use? And she was like, I don't know, I just like literally need to write something down, like and so like that's what we're trying to build, is just like, hey, we want to make it as easy for you to organize and keep everyone up to date on the progress of this project, this like product you're building. And so like let's just make the barrier of entry, the friction, so low for you to be able to like chat with your collaborators and like post resources and write your script and like share files and do all these things, so it's self-contained. And then you can like when you're done with it, you can archive the project. It's there forever if you want to go back to it, and you could like read if it's a template or whatever that like has worked for you, like my like scripting thing, which is like actually in our UX mockup, our demo. Yeah, cool. Save it as a template and you can like immediately put it into the next project. But like that's what it should be. It should be like a tool that's like super fucking bare bones at first. But once you figure out your own workflow and what works for you, it like just becomes that. Like we're really focused on this idea of like interoperability and modularity, to make sure that like we are as unopinionated about how you want to make stuff as possible. We're here to provide the tools and the infrastructure, like literally like a makerspace. Like we don't care what you fucking build there. We just want to make sure you have access to a drill and a laser cutter and like all these things so that you can make whatever you want.
Yeah, that's literally, I find it so funny that this conversation like ended up this way, just because it was just like the right time, like in the week, even for like me, like I completely get, and I think it's so important.
It's resonating.
There needs to be a place like that for people to, and also it would like promote creators in many ways. Like the
Yes.
creators who like ran into that obstacle of like the task of creating or like organizing all their things got hard. People stop making what they're making for that reason. Like they get too
Literally,
busy.
I
They
talked to a
yeah.
podcaster who that exact thing was happening to. It's like my production workflow is so fucking complicated that it literally gets in the way of me making content, which is the only way that I can grow. Because that is the game. Like we're gonna talk transition here in a second to like watching a video that I sent Joshua, but it's literally, it's like there are so many barriers to entry, and like if we can just slim down the friction of being able to make the thing, like if you just had tools that like worked for you, right, that just like allowed you to like go through your process way faster and build your own process and figure it out, and also share your process. This is like something I find fascinating about like why there are so many like let me walk you through my Notion setup things, is because it's like, hey, I've spent a long time figuring out my workflow and building it for myself. Here's what works for me. If it works for you, great. You can copy it over here. People are even like selling Notion templates, right? And so like, because our infrastructure is kind of like not a siloed platform, it's like we're all kind of working independently together, and you could see everybody else's stuff like that they want to share. Then I could like build my little scripting template and like be like, hey, and if you want to use this as a if you want to save this as a template, go right ahead, right? And then you can just like drop it into your boards and start using the same thing. Does that make sense? Like
It
this
does.
thing in my
It does. It makes
right?
a lot
It's
of
just
sense.
like it's this flourishing ecosystem. It's literally like we're also rebranding, like we're moving away from like calling it a home page, like that thing that shows you like what everybody in the community is kind of like working on and the updates, and we're calling it, bless you, and we're calling it like the hub, right? Because like that's kind of what we want to be, is like just like in a maker space. I like had this conversation with Sarah because I was trying to figure out what to call this, because we don't want to call it like the feed, because I like hate the like
Idea
what
of
that connotes. Yeah, I like hate that. That's so horrible. And I was like, when Disney like made like Disneyland, one of the like big things is that it was like a completely designed park where it was like this spoken wheel concept, and like anywhere you went in the park, like it was really easy to come back to this like central location, like the hub of the park, like the hub of the wheel. And Sarah, I was describing this to Sarah, and I was like, I don't know what to call it. She's like, why don't you call it the hub? And I was like, yes, like like that's it, because that it really is. We want to be kind of like this, like literally just the hub, the place that you can log in first to like gain context about what you're doing, work on your thing, whatever. And if you like use other tools, like we're not trying to be Premiere, right? Like, but we are trying to be the place where you can like tell everyone that you made edits in Premiere, and so they need to like save the new version from Dropbox or whatever. And there's like a
Yeah.
fucking Dropbox integration on our site that says like, hey, this thing has been updated, here's the file, right? Like there's just so much shit to be done here. Yeah.
So true. I want to get into the video before we're out of time.
Yeah,
Um,
let's do it.
so let's see, because it relates really, it relates in many ways to this conversation,
Yeah.
centered around like content creation.
Yeah, exactly. And so for some context, as I've been like sleuthing around looking for people to talk to and get feedback from, like I came, actually no, this was like from an interview I did with Kurian. He's a creator, he's a podcaster, and he goes to UVA. And he was the one that was like, I like the workflow is like literally the thing preventing me from making stuff. And or like is creating friction in making stuff. And so I asked him like what creators he's like really inspired by, so that we can reach out to some more people for this creator advisory board. And he mentioned Zach Kravitz, who I like didn't know that I knew him at the time, but I've seen some of his stuff, and I've been following on him on Twitter. But he has this podcast called Ramblin' Radio that helps like creators specifically like in the podcasting area like figure out how to turn this into a business. And so he does a similar show to like Spark Spotlight, where he like interviews creators. And so this is an interview he did with Sam Newton, who's like a filmmaker. And if anybody has seen the like I'm the new Peter McKinnon video, this is the same guy, Sam Newton. That video got like 1.2 million views, and like Peter McKinnon actually like did a reaction video to it. It's really, really cool. This guy like really like he thinks really well about kind of the game of being a creator. And so in this little podcast segment, he's talking about kind of the way that the platforms manipulate creators in a way about like what they're making. So let's just like, actually, Joshua, will you be able to hear this?
I don't know, but I think I just watched it twice, so I think just give me, just even if I can't, just remind me what point this is. But so I.
Sure. So I'll do like a little pause play thing, like when people do reaction videos.
Okay. Whatever you think is going to happen, it might go completely the other way. And so that's what's happened to a lot of one of my biggest videos, my second biggest video, is literally a Super 8 video that I edited about me and my friends just going through New Zealand. And it has like 250,000 views on YouTube. And it took me 2 hours to cut together, and I threw it together. Like, really? I put an emotional song on it, and I'm like, I'm going to do this cool little voiceover thing. And I just threw it up, and everyone loved it. And I had no...
So he's talking about this video that he made, Joshua, where he like cut together some footage from his trip to New Zealand, right?
In like 2 hours.
That's and it like got like 250,000 views.
That was just going to be one of my smaller videos, just to get something out there, to get something, and it blew up. So that's one thing. It's just you never really know what people are going to connect with, and then also because it's such a digital age, it's not always what people connect with. It's always, a lot of times, it's what like the algorithm blesses you with. So
yes, and this is an important point. So he just brought up this like really important concept of like what the difference is now between like art and audience, and like this new intermediary that is like the actual platform, like what the algorithm is deciding to show to people. Because like back in the early days of the internet, it was going to be like, oh my God, like Jack Conte's TED Talk was all about how like, look, now there is like no real separation between a person who makes a thing and the person that wants the thing, right? There's no more of this like huge like music industry infrastructure of like, you need to get on the radio and like sign to a label and like all these things. People can just listen to your music. But how that's morphed over time is like, and again, it's because of the business incentives of of these platforms. Like they've built another intermediary, which is like the algorithm, because right, we're not being shown, we're not really like in charge of discovery, which I think is really interesting. The platform is in charge of discovery for us. And so, sorry, I'm going to let the video continue to play.
Right. It's pretty interesting. Sometimes you think it's gonna blow up and get a ton, but yeah, and that honestly kind of keeps it a little bit. I mean, that's why YouTube and TikTok is the exact same way. It's like a drug. It's like a slot machine. Yeah, you don't know what's gonna work. Right. And I was just having a conversation with a friend. This is why TikTok in a lot of ways is really cool for a lot of creators, but for me, I think my biggest issue with it is this is how it always works. You post TikToks, right? People post whatever they want. Maybe they post 40 videos, and then boom, that one video takes off like crazy. And they're like, oh, that's what I've been waiting for. It's like a drug. Right. And they want that back. They want that hit of like love and attention. Mm-hmm.
So the analogy he's making is really, really important. And it's something I've been thinking about it. But like, we've like the movie Social Dilemma talked a lot about how like, the social media apps from the consumer perspective are really designed to be like slot machines, like dopamine delivery devices, like drugs, and to like manipulate those like hits to keep you addicted and coming back. What they didn't talk about in that movie, and like I want, like if I had fucking more time and was like more optimized and better at this, I wanted to make a video of like the social dilemma for creators, because it's like a very similar problem where that he mentioned like somebody who's like trying to make it on TikTok, who puts out like video after video after video. They get up to 40 videos, nothing's been working, and then like TikTok decides, and like they literally decide. You can listen to interviews with the founders about how they think of building these algorithms not as really discovery tools at all, but more as like trying to build economies. And they just like decide, okay, this creator's been putting it in for a while, so like let's just like show it to I don't know, 500,000 people, because like maybe the people will like it and like it'll get likes and whatever, but it'll at least get discovered, and it'll give that creator the dopamine hit to continue to make stuff, because it's really important that the creators continue to believe that like this is a chance for me to make it, right? Because they're the ones that are driving the content wheels that keep all the consumers coming back. And so in the rest of this video, we'll talk more about this like kind of manipulation.
They ask themselves, what did I do in that one video? I'm going to do that again. And to me, you know, there's a lot of positives out of like apps like TikTok, but to me, that's the biggest negative, is the intention isn't there. That's not a decision that you made, that you're going to continually make these videos. That's a decision that the algorithm made for you. So there's so many creators that are put into this like niche, like say I'm doing Instagram comedy, yada yada yada, and then I make a joke about a chair, right? I'm just looking at a chair, it's very arbitrary, but I make a joke about a chair and that gets up 2 million views. Now I'm going to just keep making jokes about chairs and say those keep working. Now I'm the chair joke guy, and I never decided. I let the algorithm decide for me, and the intentionality behind that gets thrown out the door. And I think a lot of like young creators are doing just that, and you'll go onto a TikTok and just be like, these are like, you're just, it's the same thing. And it's not really what they're deciding. And
so he mentions this point of like creators aren't really deciding what content to make. It's like they just start to iterate and make more of whatever has worked. I don't like entirely think that is bad, because that's like a lot of what product iteration is you put out a bunch of stuff and like see what works. I think where this argument does make sense is that like it's the idea of like who informed that creator of like what the information was that things are going well, right? Because again, the discoverability, the connection to the audience, whatever, is not, there's this big intermediary of the algorithm between the creator and the audience, and the algorithm is the thing that has decided to kick the video up or down. And so when like you might think of it as like, well, the audience really latched onto that video, so I'll just keep making that stuff. But you didn't like go out, like in product development, right? You would go out, you'd talk to your user, you'd like figure out what's working, like the stuff that we're doing, right? And so you get to build those deep connections with your audience members. With creators and these platforms, they don't really like, that's not really how it works. It's, I only get to talk to an audience that likes the stuff if the algorithm has decided to show it to people, especially if you're like a new creator starting out, right? Like people who have established audiences and all these things, that they actually can be informed and like talk to people. Like for the past, like 12 years or something, like the Vlogbrothers, Hank and John Green, have been like literally putting out a census of like, hey, let's like figure out who's in our audience, what you like, what you'd like to change about our content, whatever. They put it out every single year. I've taken it a few times, and it's really fun. And it's a way to connect and build. And so, I don't entirely agree with everything in this point. I do agree with
and again,
like that
I don't
aspect
think all of
it.
it's bad, but I think a lot of it's just like
thing
trying
right
to figure out what works and then do
Joshua,
that,
I'd love to get your
as opposed to trying to figure out what you really want to create. Play the long game, and then the people will eventually come. Sure. Because the long game just doesn't exist anymore, which is rough.
It's everyone wants the fastest way, the quickest thing. I mean, it's always been like that. Fat loss. I mean, any industry, you know, weight training, fitness, whatever. Do you think there's a balance there with like making TikTok videos, making them about a chair, seeing, okay, that formula works? So how can I use this formula, but to create things that I like as well? Is there a balance there, you think?
For sure. But I think even if people found a formula that turned it into, okay, well, this works for people, how do I make things that I want to make fit into this formula? For me, that again isn't making something that you want to make, because you're pushing it into a formula that you think is going to work. So like TikTok's fast, you got to grab the attention fast, and then you got to tell the story fast, and then you got to what's good. And then if that's not your type of storytelling, then you're molding yourself into a completely, and then you're basically just a slave to this platform, and you're just doing exactly what you need to do. So.
And that's the like final point. He mentioned this idea of like you become a slave to the platform. The platform is dictating what content works. Like he mentioned TikTok, and how TikTok, it's like you gotta do things fast, and like it has to be like really authentic and all these things. And like Joshua, we've even had this conversation, like the me with my DSLR and like doing these like really produced things probably won't play as well because like the actual platform itself is not like designed for that type of content structure. And so he's saying like that manipulates creators to not actually make stuff that they want to make. It's to make stuff that will like do well. And this has always been like I think a struggle for artists, like literally since the dawn of time. It's like, how do you strike that balance between like being a peer artist and being like product engineer, and like making something that like people want to see and view. When I think about like artists that do this really well and think walk this line really well, like Lin-Manuel Miranda, I think did it really fucking well. Like, before like In the Heights and all these things, hip hop was not really like a Broadway style. But like that's the music that he thought was needed in like the industry and all these things, and he was kind of a nobody, but he wrote this musical and it's like really fucking well. And then he did Hamilton, right? It was like, let's make fucking Les Mis a rap song. Like, and so I think there is a line to ride, but when he talks about this idea that this manipulation that platforms do to creators, I think is so important and doesn't get talked about enough. So Joshua, your thoughts.
Yeah, I mean, I would to the point you were talking about, like, whether it's good or bad that like you get this, like, getting a response from people and then continuing that content, like there is good or bad. Like it's good in the sense that like when you're making a product, you go to your users, you get feedback's productive to figure out what you're working on. But the thing there is you go to users that you are making a product for. The thing with TikTok that I kind of have a problem with the algorithm is sometimes they'll send your content to, even though if it's 1 million people, it might not be the 1 million you want. So then it kind of changes what you work on. So like, let's say, for instance, this, and I'm going to bring up Ripple, but I think it's a good example. Like the TikTok that we put out that got viral, it was of Hannah, and she was like, it was a green screen video behind of our website. And it said like, find your career. And a bunch of people in the comments were like, oh, I went and it's only medicine. Like for now, like I'm law. And we got like a lot of like, I'm law, I'm business, I'm this. And it like that, technically that this piece of content wasn't made for them. Like it's good to get that exposure, but like the feed, like let's say, what if TikTok did that and us being the creators completely shifted when like my experience was in medicine, right? That could have like, that could have significantly impacted, I think, Ripple in a bad way because I don't understand this new market yet. I'm going to where people are telling me where to go. And so I thought that's like the point in the video, like titled saying like being a content slave is like doing wherever the platforms take you. And like, yeah, I'm sure the algorithm was meant to be well intended in the sense that like it's going to help creators get their video out to more, get exposure. But it's like it's a fine line when it becomes so addictive and people make so much content to the point where it's like, are you really working on something you want to do? And at the same time, are you working to serve the group you want to serve? Like, imagine if you were making Lumastic now, and you put out a video of saying, I want to help creators, and that one flopped. And then you put out a video saying, like, maybe, like, you're just trying stuff, right? You're throwing stuff at the wall and seeing what sticks, but you get such a drastic response out of TikTok. You could be like, maybe for solely artists, and then people are just like, yeah, TikTok sends it to a bunch of artists. But like I mean, I think it's like your journey with helping creators is like, it really came back full circle. I watched the Colin Healy video and seeing that you were putting out YouTube videos of that what is it? Acid base reaction or whatever, catalytic reactions, right? But you were a creator at heart, right? You're a creator at heart, want to serve creators, not just a specific subgroup. And that came full circle through you going out yourself and talking to the people you want to talk to and putting this product in front of them. Of course, if you go out to a group of people that you don't necessarily want to talk to, I'm not saying their feedback isn't not appreciated. It's good to get diverse perspectives. There's a huge business case for like diversity, but it could drastically push you to work on something that you don't want to work on deep down. And then you're probably like, the way I imagine it, haven't fell into this pickle, but like I'm sure I'm sure I could expect it just by like seeing that video and seeing what it does. When I was thinking more about it, is that it could lead like 2-3 years or like all of a sudden, man, this isn't where I really wanted to be. This isn't the content I really wanted to make. Yeah, your content can be improved, but like I think the algorithm, one downside of it is it can push you to go into a market that you don't even like truly care about. You're just kind of feeling that dopamine high in the moment, and you're like, oh, I want more of that, so I'm going to continue to make content for this. It's like that's the problem I have with it personally. And I do think it's so funny, and I really like, I don't know what runs the algorithm. Everyone tries to be, you see on TikTok, like all these influencers who are telling you how to become a TikTok star, just like any platform like YouTube, how to grow your channel from 0 to 5,000 in one day. Like all these people, there's people on TikTok like that too. And they're always saying like how they know the algorithm and stuff like that. But it is like, there's so many instances where like, I've seen a lot of videos where people will be like, creators like big, they'll be like millions. And then all of a sudden TikTok will stop showing their videos to people, and they'll like, their views will go down a huge amount. And then they'll make a video being like, oh, TikTok doesn't like me. And that video goes viral again. Like it gets like 1 million likes, right? And then that's the dopamine hit, right? When you're down, it's just like any addiction, any drug. It's like there's a science behind it for like people who become alcoholics or get into drugs or even like have just any addictive personalities. Like when you're down the most and you get that hit, that goes back into the like loop cycle of addiction. Which is like really hard to navigate, especially, and that's one thing that's really dangerous about TikTok. But I'm saying the downsides. Obviously, there's a lot of positives. I've seen a lot of really good stories of creators who are like really down bad and use TikTok as their place, and they just got the exposure that they weren't getting on Instagram and all those things. But there's also a lot of those things. But yeah, I'm curious. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, sure. And here, one right quick. Sarah, would you text Chelsea and tell her that we're going to be late to our marketing meeting? Okay, I want to like, so I think thoughts are kind of like shared in this like reaction. Like I've been thinking about this for like a long time. This like, and the social dilemma was again, and I like, there should have been a section. I don't know, maybe it was cut for time or whatever, because there is like social manipulation on both ends. And Colin and Samir, right after the social dilemma, like came out to the podcast, and they were like, kind of talking about how, there's a lot of like horrible things that come from social media. Same thing with like Pomplamoose, Jack Conte's band. He and his wife did an interview with the director of the movie, because a lot of creators were like, am I part of the problem? Right? And should I like be telling my audience like get off of social media, or should I like be making my own like website or whatever? All these things. And I think that the conversation that like, especially Colin Samir in this podcast said something like, well, we make good stuff. Like we make good stuff for people. And so like, I don't feel that bad about kind of playing into this thing, because if people are algorithmically generated to get to our videos, I think we're like a pretty positive force, which I agree with in like general theory. But the piece that's missing from all of it is that like the platforms are also manipulating all like creators. Like the reason that Logan Paul, David Dobrik, all these people are making like really sensational like content is because they've been manipulated by the platform that's what sells. And like we've known about that for a long time. I just don't think that we've known that it is happening to every creator in such a huge way, systemically like this. I do want to like have some takeaways of like how I think creators can like be able to be more like product engineers and like make something that solves a problem for a specific group of people they care about, and like make stuff they like. I think the interview I did with Destin George Bell, who runs that YouTube channel Bucket Patrol, is like a really interesting use case, right? Like he set out to start a YouTube channel about NBA 2K because he was like, I'm in this community, I don't see this content, I think it's going to be really important for people to have like a place to go to get news and like to kind of have this like collaborative environment, so I'm going to make that thing. And his content that he's been he had like that main star vision, like when he started out to make the channel and to grow and to make stuff. He has been like ingraining himself in the community, like going in the Discord and Reddit and like all these things to like make content for those people, because it's also like it's like a way of finding that audience without having to go through the algorithm to get it to be discovered by that audience. Does that make sense? It's like he can build that, right? He can start building that direct creator audience relationship as he develops content, which one will help him grow, two will help him make the stuff he actually wants to make for the people he wants to make, and like get out of relying on YouTube and TikTok and Twitter or whatever to like help him be discovered. It's like taking discoverability back in your own hands, because the internet still, I talked before about how Jack Conte was like, look, now there's like a direct relationship between somebody who makes the thing and somebody who wants that thing. But I think it's like also the reverse. It's like there actually is this direct relationship between somebody who wants to make something for someone and somebody like who wants that thing made. That's what the internet really, really is powerful to do. And that's what, like, I think a lot of creators should think more about. Like, what do you care about and what do you love? Where do you hang out on the internet? And like, what things could you be making to help support that community and that thing in the world? Yeah. And that's like why Destin was able to get this like sponsorship deal with NBA, like, but at 170 subscribers. It's because he has like long, big vision. He's building it with and for the community. And like, that's again this like tie in between like creators and entrepreneurs, right? Like the entrepreneurship story, like effectuation as like an entrepreneurship model, like that is it. And it I think just we're really like just on the beginning stages of like showing creators that when you're starting a YouTube channel, you're not starting a YouTube channel to become a celebrity. You're starting a YouTube channel because you're starting a business. And I think that transition is just what we're in right now.
I think that's a really interesting point. I think I completely agree. I mean, I see it going that way ever since we've actually started having these conversations and I started giving this like idea more thought. So shout out Drew. But no, but it's like very true, because like, I guess again, like, and it's important for like me to think about this and like for every creator to think about this, because like when I started putting out videos for Ripple and like making other stuff, like I was making it to make a business, right? Like in many ways. And that's like how people should be going about it. I think it is really powerful what Destin's doing, in the sense that like he's going, like you, all of us, like it's really powerful to go and talk to the people, like not and get those one-on-one conversations, because as much as they're not like huge perspectives of like people liking your videos and reading comments and stuff like that, you get like the detail and like just like detail that you would never get anywhere else. So I think I completely agree, and what like you, Destin, all these people on Lumastic are doing is really powerful, and I can definitely see it going there, especially since now it's like I feel like I was an avid YouTube consumer and was really into, when I was like 10 and 9, like into the like Freddie Wong's and like the graphic like
Corridor Digital.
Yeah,
all those guys.
Exactly. And that was like a very like just like it was, I feel like the creator like revolution in many ways. Like everyone was growing, doing really cool stuff, just putting out their work. And now it does feel like a very transitional moment, because there's all these new platforms coming out, but like they're not, people are like, where is this going? Like, I feel like it's really hard. And like, even just seeing like David Dobrik starting to make an app out of his creator lifestyle, like more of those seem like to be brewing, and it seems like it's going to hit a new like spike. And just like you're doing with Lumastic this time, it's like really early on, but like they're slowly happening, and it's going to hit soon. So it's going to be really exciting.
Yeah, dude, I've been talking about this analogy, but like, right, I really do. I feel like we went surfing like 2.5 years ago, because I was like, there's going to be this is going to be big, like, and we want to be like ready here. And we went out with our board and wetsuit, and we were sitting in the ocean, just like watching the like push and pull. And some people like started to ride and all these things, and I just like kept waiting. I was like, I feel like there's gonna be a right time, whatever. And now there's like this huge fucking wave coming, and now it's like, okay, let's fucking stand up on the board now. Like, this is it. Like, now we have to ride. And like, yeah, I just feel like that's become so true and resonant in my life. And like, yeah, I just like, I appreciate everyone who's on here for that for that ride. And like, again, talking to the people, like, this is like startup 101. Like, talk to your fucking users. Like, and it has just like completely revolutionized the way we like think, the way we can like think and operate about this business, and like help people, and like gain really interesting insight, come up with like ideas for just like little tweaks that we can make things happen with. And it's also just been really cool because I love these people, right? Like, and so I get to, it's not work. It's like, I really care about these people, and like getting to talk to them and like be like, how can I help? It's like it's like a drug to me. Like it's really awesome.
Yeah.
Joshua, we have to get on our marketing meeting.
Yes, we do.
Yeah, this was a fantastic conversation, I think. Listeners at home, all right, whether you're a creator, maker, entrepreneur, anybody working on something cool, please, in the comments below, like, tell us what you're working on, how we can help. Any other topics you want us to cover, you can tweet me at It's Just Druid. And yeah, subscribe if you're not already subscribed, and like, let's build cool shit together. All right.
Let's
we
go.
did it. Let's fucking go. That's the highlight of the year. All right.
Yeah,
Goodbye,
awesome.
everyone.